AI may generate the words, but only you can give them meaning.
9 out of 10 Christians cannot tell you the 10 commandments. And the reason is because it wasn't presented as a story. It was presented as a PowerPoint with 10 bullet points. People don't remember them. They remember aging story.
We have with us on the podcast, Danny Brassell.
Well, trying to be the best can be pretty lonely.
I'm curious to hear from you if you still feel that rush after this many keynote speaker gigs that you have done.
I was once speaking in front of 5,500 people, and right before I got on stage, I looked at my hand, and it was steady as a rock. It was like my Mykel Salomon scene from The Godfather. I'm like,
oh boy,
I like doing this, but I was excited. I mean, and I'm high energy. I want to get everybody pumped up.
People like you that are so good at your craft and has been doing this for a long time.
Barbara Streisand vomits before she goes on stage whenever she sings. President Reagan vomited before every speech he ever gave. Bill Russell from the Boston Celtics used to vomit before every single game he ever played. People that are really good, you don't know what they're actually going through.
Where do you see AI is helping, and what are your concerns in this new future with AI?
I'm not going to tell you the concerns because I think the media does a pretty good job of portraying all the doom and gloom behind AI.
In a world of prompts and algorithms, your greatest differentiator is still your story. AI may generate the words, but only you can give them meaning. Welcome to the Human Protocol, the podcast about staying human while building the future. I am your host, Mykel Salomon. As AI floods our feeds with content, clarity and connection become rare commodities. The future doesn't belong to those with the most data. It belongs to those who can communicate what matters clearly and memorably. In this new age, your ability to tell a compelling story about your product, your mission, about yourself, may just be your most valuable form of capital. Today, I'm excited because we have with us on the podcast and on the show, Danny Brassell. And Danny, welcome to the Human Protocol.
Thanks so much for having me, Mykel. Thanks for all that you do. We need you spreading a lot more joy around the world. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. And I think it will resonate with so many. And to kick things off, Danny, I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit who Danny is, not only on the professional side, but also on the personal side.
Well, if I was going to write an autobiography, Mykel, it'd probably be called Pivots because I feel like I've already lived 9 lives. 30 years ago, I was covering President Bush Sr. as a journalist for the 1992 presidential election. I loved my job. I got to meet every editor of every major daily. And one editor offered me the City Beat for $16,500 a year. Meanwhile, a friend told me they were hiring teachers in South Central Los Angeles for $25,000 a year. So I became an educator for the noblest of reasons, for the high pay. And I actually fell in love with teaching. I've taught all age levels, from preschoolers all the way up to rocket scientists. I can make that claim because I used to teach English as a second language to engineering students at the University of Southern California. And in 2005, my wife and I attended a real estate seminar, which turned out to be a scam, and we lost everything. And I could give you the woe is me story, but I'm a positive person. I learned a lot from that experience. First of all, I learned my wife is my soulmate. I put her through the ringer and she stood right by me. She's an incredible human being. Second of all, I learned that money's not everything because you can lose money just like that. Third, I try not to judge other people because if I was somebody who saw what I had done, I would have said, well, you deserve that. But now I realize unless you know everything about a person, you really don't know anything about a person. Fourth, I became a Christian, which I'm always embarrassed to confess it took a catastrophe. But the more I read the Bible, I realize I'm not the first screw up to find Jesus. And fifth, I didn't want to file for bankruptcy. And my accountant said, well, you have to make this much more money this year. So I started speaking on the side and I hit that number right on the number. Well, then the next year, Mykel, he gave me a much higher number and I hit that number right on the number. So in year 3, I thought, well, maybe I should set a higher number. And basically, during one of the worst economic downturns in American history, I was able to build up a highly lucrative speaking business, which eventually attracted the attention of some pretty famous people and companies who asked me to coach them. And I have to be very honest, I resisted coaching for a long time, Mykel, because you need to know this about me. I have a very high standard for my students. I will not let you fail. I will be on your back, holding you accountable until you succeed. Well, now that I work primarily with entrepreneurs and executives, business owners, I find that they're highly motivated. They do the work, and it's probably been the most gratifying thing I've ever done. So there's a very long answer to your short question, Mykel.
And a very, for sure, interesting one. So I appreciate you, Danny, for letting us know a little bit of who Danny is. And I think we now have a glimpse of really who Danny is on a personal side. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I know that you have delivered many, many, many of keynotes. And I'm curious if you can share with us what your storytelling framework is for crafting talk that truly converts and truly connect with people. Because Danny, in this new future with AI, we still need to be able to deliver and connect with people. And that's what storytelling does for the most part.
You're like a perfect public service announcement for my business, Mykel. Yeah. So you have to bear with me. I'm a former teacher, so everything I do either rhymes or it's alliterative. And so I take
Well,
my clients.
we're here to learn, Danny. So bring the t-shirt, Danny.
Well, I take my clients through what I call the 5 C's process. I actually have a company. It's called Well Crafted Story Workshop with Coach Jimmy A's Nelson and Dave Ward. I call this the professor, the performer, and the producer because my background is in academia. Coach Jimmy was a Broadway actor and Dave is an attorney. And so they had to bear with me as I started creating this process. We call it the 5 C's process. And so the 5 C's are you need clarity, connect, content, call to action, and close. And so we'll take them one at a time. And for clarity, before you even put together a presentation, you have to ask yourself 2 questions. And you'd be amazed, 95% of the people I work with at the beginning cannot answer one or both of these questions succinctly. Those 2 questions are, who is your audience and what is the problem that you solve? Now, when you have that clarity in your head, who is it that I want to specifically reach and what is it that I do for that person? Then we can get into the other 4 C's. And so the first C, the next C then becomes connecting with your audience. And so again, former teacher, I've got to rhyme things. And so in the first 5 minutes of a presentation, I always tell people you got to wrap. RAP stands for relatability, authority, and purpose. And so relatable. I'm just like you. I've had that same problem that you've had. Authority. And I solved that problem. Purpose. And now I'm on a mission to help people just like you so you don't have to suffer the way I suffered. If you can do those 3 things in the first 5 minutes of your presentation, you're going to really connect with your audience. And so here's a strategy for your audience, Mykel, is stop sharing all of your successes and start sharing your failures because not everybody in your audience has succeeded, but they've all failed. And the more you talk about your own failures, the more your audience is going to see themselves in you. And ultimately, this is the point of any presentation is you want to connect in a way that your audience decides to take that next step with you, whether it's an unpaid next step, like subscribe to my podcast or vote for me. It can be a paid next step, like buy my product or invest in my coaching program. But we want to evaluate the effectiveness of your presentation by how many people are taking that next step. I mean, there's a lot of great presentations out there, but if you really want to take them to the next level, you have to make them intentional. And the way you make them intentional is getting that audience. I mean, you can serve your audience a little bit for an hour speaking to them at a keynote, but you can serve them for a lifetime if you get to have a much longer relationship with them. So that's the importance of the connection component.
And that's where the human element is so important because that's really when they connect to you at the human level. And what you just said, that you just said it beautifully there, it's not only how smart you are or you sound, it's really what are your failures? And that's what people saying, this is a human beings that I connect to because people connect to you when they are sharing experiences, right? That they have also experienced themselves. And like you said, that's something that may connect them at a level that it will be for a lifetime moving forward.
Absolutely, Mykel. And I mean, I believe in AI, but I believe AI should be more about authentic intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. And so how do you authentically connect with people? This is why I always say there's 2 types of ways to get better at speaking. The first way is to watch lots of speakers. I mean, I watch 10 speakers a day. I watch politicians. I watch televangelists. I watch comedians. Comedians are really good at the connection part, by the way. If you ever watch like a Kevin Hart routine, Kevin Hart is a short black guy. And so he tells a lot of jokes about being a short black guy. Jim Gaffigan's a big fat white guy. So he tells a lot of jokes about being a big fat white guy. What they've done ingeniously is they've taken their perceived weakness and by making fun of it, now it's a strength and nobody can use it against them. So for example, And I didn't work on either President Biden or President Trump's campaign, but if both of those candidates had asked me how to make them more effective as communicators, with President Biden, I would have said, "Well, make a lot of jokes about your age."
Hmm.
I can't remember anything. I'm too old. Because if he makes jokes about it himself, it's now taken the issue away from other people. If I was
Leveling the
advising,
playing field. Yeah.
yeah, if I was advising President Trump, I would have said, "Well, make fun of your humility."
Yeah.
Nobody is humbler than me. I'm the most humble person around. Like when you take your weakness and you personally make fun of it, it's now no longer an issue. Nobody else can make fun of it. And
It's kind of get ahead, right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watch lots of speakers to sit, I watch them in front of big groups, in front of small groups, in front of men, in front of women. Here, I'll give you a ninja strategy for your audience. I watch a lot of televised award shows because when the person wins the Academy Award, they only have 45 seconds to connect with their audience. I want to see how they use those 45 seconds. Most people waste their time. They get up there, they're like, I want to thank God, I want to thank the Academy. It's stupid. Nobody's paying attention. But every now and then a person nails it out of the park. And so, for example, a few years ago, there was a gentleman by the name of Joe Walker who won the Academy Award for Best Film Editing. Now, this is Hollywood. All the important people are in the front of the room, the actors. And you can tell they're not paying attention. This is film editing. And Joe Walker gets on stage. He's British. He speaks very slowly and deliberately. He says, a lot of people don't know this, but when phrased properly, the term Academy Award nominee can be used as an insult.
Hmm.
Now the camera's scanning the audience. You see everybody leaning in like, what's he talking about? And he says,
Yeah.
for example, yesterday I got in an argument with my 17-year-old daughter, and she said, well, Academy Award nominee Joe Walker. All of a sudden, you see everybody laughing hysterically. He gets off stage. Denzel Washington wants to meet him. Sandra Bullock wants to meet him.
That was smart.
Time Magazine said he was one of the highlights of the Academy Awards. Well done,
Yeah.
Joe Walker. That's how you connect, making fun of yourself. The
It's
second way you get better at speaking, I've had lots of wonderful coaches and mentors throughout my life. One of my mentors was a guy by the name of Jim Rohn, and Jim used to say, you can't pay other people to do your push-ups. Translation, you got to do the reps. I guarantee you, Mykel, the very first time you did this podcast, you stunk. And the second time you did it, you stunk. But you didn't stink as bad as the first time. And now you've been doing it long enough that you're a finely tuned machine and it becomes natural. It's the same thing as my youngest daughter is learning how to drive. And she's so cute because when she gets in the car, she adjusts her mirrors and she makes sure her hands are on the 10 o'clock and the 2 o'clock part of the steering wheel. I promise you, after a year of driving, a year from now, she'll be driving with one and eating a Big Mac, doing her lipstick and changing channels on the radio station because she's put in the reps. And so that's how you get better at speaking, is watching people and then doing it. That's how you're going to get better.
The key is get started and then practice and until it becomes a habit. And then eventually you will get better. Absolutely. It's like you keep repeating and you keep improving from where you left off, and then you continue to get better and get better. Because in the world of business, right, Danny, it's like a lot of people has good strategies, but it's really your story that will make people to remember your strategy and what you discuss with them. So it's that kind of connection through your story that will make people to really remember what you were talking about to begin with.
Yeah, of all people, was Joseph Stalin, who said 1 million people dead is a statistic, one person dead is a tragedy. Translation, facts tell, but stories sell. Facts inform, but stories transform, and I think that if you really want to get better at anything, that's why you hire a coach. I mean, this is what the most successful people in the world understand. I mean, the reason people work with my company, with Coach Jimmy, Dave, and me, is all three of us have completely different backgrounds. And so we look at a presentation from totally different angles. And so we're able to give feedback in different ways. And this is what top performers understand. I mean, you look at Tiger Woods, greatest golfer in history. Tiger Woods, he has a putting coach. He has a driving coach. He has a mental coach. Maybe he should hire a relationship coach, but he understands the power of
maybe
good
that's on purpose. So it's like this whole new feature with AI and this transformational period that we're going through, and that's why
Hmm.
this conversation is also so important. The way I see these new features, we all are going to own our IP. Our IP is our voice, our stories, and it's really
Hmm.
our story that it becomes our strategy. So how do you see this becoming more and more important? The whole thing about your story is your strategy in this whole new era with AI, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, like AI is great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, AI, you could actually create a pretty engaging presentation on AI. I use AI all the time. I think it's great, but you don't have that human connection, which
Mm.
is going to set you apart. I mean, you and I both received emails. I think you and I can tell pretty quickly if that email came from the human being or if the AI generated the email. It sounds very scripted. I mean, it's even getting better at that, but when I see people on their social media posts and it has all these emojis and everything, I'm like, that was done by AI. They've already pre-scheduled this for the next month. There's nothing authentic about it. That's why social media is very dangerous because people like to put their best foot forward. And I think if you really want to stand out, I would actually use it the exact opposite way. You know, instead of showing yourself in a bikini, show yourself getting up
Showing
out of bed.
perfections.
Yeah, yeah. And believe me, you don't want to see me in a bikini. It's not a positive.
I think we need more of that. We need more to show your imperfections and make sure that people are looking at what it's real. And I think AI it's also part of social media, and AI is also amplifying everything that we don't like or that we get just tired of looking at everything looking so shiny and so perfect that
Mm-mm.
eventually people will want to just to connect with each other in a more personal and human level than what it is and what it has been.
Really well said, Michael.
Yep. And Danny, how can leaders, and I know that you touched on that about connection and how we as leaders and when we are presenting our ideas, we can do a better job at delivering the message. But
We're
how can reading habits, for example, transform the way we speak and also lead? What can we learn from that?
Yeah, so now you're getting my other passion, which is reading. And so I read all kinds of books. And what I can tell you about, I love biographies in particular. And I can tell you that there's all kinds of readers that don't necessarily become effective leaders. But I can't point to a single effective leader in history that was also
Yeah.
not an avid reader. The power of reading is the power to get your mind to apply other people's concepts to your industry. I mean, I'm a USC football fan, and I hate this story of Newt Rockne was trying to figure out a way to beat USC, and he was driving his wife crazy, so his wife forced him to go to the ballet with him. And that night, as he was watching the dancers on the dance floor, he envisioned an offense that wound up winning him 4 national championships because he let his mind wander in a different way. It's the same thing with reading. You look at the most effective leaders in any industry, they're all reading. Look at the military. General Patton was an avid reader. General Schwarzkopf, they said, could read in 4 languages and quote Shakespeare voraciously. You look at business leaders. Elon Musk runs $4 billion companies, and yet he still reads an entire book every single day. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people ever to live on the planet, he reads dawn to dusk every single day. If you look at President
Right.
Clinton, when he was stressed out, he'd always read a good mystery novel. A lot of people forget the story of President Kennedy was at a press conference and a reporter asked him what he was reading. He said, "Oh, I'm reading this cool little book. It's a spy novel. The guy's name is James Bond." Well, the the people at MGM happened to be watching that press conference, so they bought the rights to the James Bond series. The reason we have James Bond movies was from a flippant comment.
Wow. I did not know that.
That's fascinating. I mean, in this, look at athletes and in sports, like Bill Belichick, the most successful NFL coach in history. He had
Mm.
the largest football library. He actually donated it to his university. LeBron James, I could have kissed him before the NBA Finals when he was playing for the Miami Heat. They showed him in the locker room reading The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I'm like, you just did more to get kids excited about reading than anything I can ever do. So it doesn't matter what the field. If you look at the best leaders, they're always reading, and the reason they're reading is it's giving them ideas. For me, I personally read all the time just for anecdotes. I'm looking for
Yeah.
stories. I
Right.
read a book the other day. it wasn't a very good book, but there was one story in it which was fascinating, which I'm like, oh, it was worth reading the entire book just for that story. So the story was about, it's a marketing book, and it's about this marketer who's going all around the world trying to figure out what can he market to make his next $1 billion. And he's in Chile, and he's watching these fishermen fish, and he notices they're catching a lot of one fish, but then there's this other fish, and they put it in a different bin. He's like, oh, but then he notices when they go to lunch, they start eating the fish that they were putting in the other bin. He's like, oh, are you eating that because you're paid to catch the other fish? And I'm like, well, yeah, but also because this is a better tasting fish. He's like, may I try it? And they're like, sure. So he starts eating it. He's like, oh my gosh, this is delightful. What's it called? They're like, it's called the toothfish. He's like, the toothfish? That's the worst. Thinking about it. And so imports the fish into the United States and Canada. It's now the #1 fish served at restaurants, but he changed the name from toothfish to Chilean sea bass.
Oh, that's the Chilean sea bass story. Wow, that's so
An awesome story. I mean, I live for stuff like that. So
that's
that
wild.
all the time. Or I'll read. Yeah, I'm only looking for stuff that's inspirational. Like,
Yeah.
stuff. I don't like the negative stuff. There's enough negativity. That's why I stopped reading.
We have enough. Exactly. Yes.
I was watching a show last week. It was horrible. It was called The News, and it totally depressed me. It doesn't serve me. That's why I listen to your podcast. I learn when I'm listening to your podcast. You have people that are very interesting. You always ask them very good questions. And there was a great speaker. He's no longer with us, but his name was Keith Harrell. And he used to have a line I loved. He said, a lot of people say garbage in, garbage out. It's like, that's not right. Garbage in, garbage stays. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, one of my mentors was Charlie Tremendous Jones. And Charlie used to say, are you going to be the same today as you will be in 5 years, except for two things, the books you read and the people you meet. So make sure you surround yourself with people who lift you up, and make sure you fill your mind with things that are encouraging.
It's all about the energy that you're allowed to get in your life. That's what's going to build your life and what you're going to make out of it, right? At the end of the day, it's our choice, or we choose positivity or we choose negativity. This is our choice. The choice that we make, it's really what's going to determine, Danny, the type of life that we live. And that's what sometimes I tell my friends. If you just keep listening to and following those pages that are only showing bad news, fake news, conspiracy theories, that's what the type of energy that you're going to surround your life with. You like it or not. And it is our choice. If you have to be on social media, for example, and we all like to be on social media, I mean, for the most part, then choose the people that you follow. That's the energy that you're going to attract to you. If you want to learn in social media, there are pages that you can follow and you're going to learn. If you just want to be on the gossip side of things and the fake news or whatever, then that's the energy that you're going to see every day in social media. So at the end of the day, the choice and the control is pretty much still on us.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I have an uncle who watches a news channel 24 hours a day. And I asked him recently, I'm like, oh, has President Trump asked you to be an advisor? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you're so well informed. I figured the president must be asking you your opinion. No. I'm like, well, all the news does is flamples. He gets him angry. I mean, that's how he starts the conversation. Did you see what happened? I'm like, you're always angry about stuff you have nothing to do with. I mean, I'm not, and don't let me belittle it. I mean, yeah, it's if there was a typhoon across the world, that's sad, but I can't do anything about that. If I can do something about it, I will, but I'm not going to sit here and gripe and let it ruin my day. I mean, if I'm watching the election and this person I didn't want to see elected got elected, I'm like, I can sit here and gripe about it, or I'm like, well, does this person really affect my life on a day-to-day basis? I mean, I don't need to be around that kind of energy.
Yeah, totally agree. And you know what I think about, Danny? I'm curious to hear from you if you still feel that rush, that thing that we feel when we are getting in front of a big audience on the stage. Do you still feel that after this many keynote speaker gigs that you have done, or you are way past that already?
Oh, no. I get excited about it. It was weird. I was once speaking in front of 5,500 people, and right before I got on stage, I looked at my hand, and it was steady as a rock. It was like my Michael Corleone scene from The Godfather. I'm like,
oh boy,
oh, I like doing this, but I was excited. I mean, and I'm high energy. I want to get everybody pumped up. Yeah, I still get excited. I mean, yeah, that's my thing, man. I get off on it.
Do you feel like nervous? You know, that feeling when you're just to put a feet in front of that stage and in front of that audience. Do you still feel that?
I only feel nervous when I'm trying a new presentation because I don't know how people are going to react to it. And this is what most of the people I work with, they're either terrified of speaking on stage or they have no interest in speaking on stage. And it's what I was telling you earlier about you need to get in your reps because the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel at it. So when I'm trying a new presentation, like I have a presentation I'm doing later on this evening that I've never done it before. So I'm nervous about it because I don't know, are they going to laugh at this joke? Am I teaching too much
Right.
here? I need to see the
You
reaction.
think about their
And then
reaction and their response to it, right?
I
Yeah.
want to see, I mean, because I love to use a lot of humor. So I use jokes. And so I'll try a joke in Indiana. And if they don't laugh at it, I'm like, huh, I wonder if it's a joke or if it's Indiana's. But then I'll try the joke again in Georgia and they don't laugh. I'm like, huh, is it Georgia or is it the joke? And if I try it in Texas and they don't laugh, I'm like, yeah, I guess it's the joke. I guess I got to get rid of that joke. Nobody's laughing.
That's interesting. And I can totally see that being the case, especially when it's a new keynote that you're trying to put up there to see what's really the initial reaction from people. That makes sense. And Danny, what would be one tactic, for example, for entrepreneurs that they could use to kind of start converting speaking into sales? We all want to sell something, and we know being a salesman or a saleswoman, it's a different type of skills because in part, for you to sell, you need to connect. That's why everybody is not supposed to be selling, right? Because you need to connect with people. How could you coach someone to be the best salesman or saleswoman for their own product?
So I'll give you, I don't think I really addressed the other three C's like I should have. So I'll talk about content, call to action, and close. And so content is interesting because this is usually the largest part of a presentation. And ironically, research shows us it's the least important. People tend to remember the beginning of your talk and the end of your talk. They don't remember anything in between. Translation, holy cow, the bun's more important than the burger. But what people do remember is, are you helpful? And so I'll give you an example. One of my mentors, he's no longer with us, but he was a great speaker. His name was Jim Trelease, and he used to teach parents how to read aloud to their kids. And all of a sudden, in the middle of this presentation, he'd say, oh, I'm going to teach you something. This will save your life someday. If you ever lock yourself out of your car, but you have your cell phone, call your spouse and have your spouse put your car keys next to your cell phone, and you put your cell phone next to your car door. It'll unlock the car door. Mykel, I've tried this from 3,000 miles away, and it works. It doesn't work on like the newer cars like the Teslas, but like on a Toyota Corolla with a little fob thing, for some reason I didn't realize it's like a digital sound that is attracted to the door lock. So here's the point of this story. This has nothing to do with his presentation whatsoever. And I've seen people come up to him and say, oh my gosh, I locked myself out of the car. I remember what you said. That was so helpful. That was the greatest thing ever.
It's crazy, that connection. Wow.
It has nothing to do with his presentation, but because he demonstrated that he's helpful, people want, oh, this is a person I trust. Most people don't trust salespeople because they're trying to sell. Like, don't sell, serve.
Yeah.
When you're on stage, you should be looking, they've given you their time. You have a responsibility. What can I do to help these people right now? And if you can give them one or two things, that's going to really increase the number of people that want to do business with you. Now, when we get to the call to action and the close, I always say that there's two types of people in every audience, and I'm going to be stereotypical and say it's the husband and the wife. The husband is who I call Joe Friday. He's the guy with his arms crossed, sitting there like, how much is this going to cost? What do I got to do? How long does it take? And a very clear call to action should answer all of those questions for the Joe Friday in the audience. But if you end on Joe Friday, you're ignoring half of your audience, which is Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts, she doesn't care what you're selling. She just wants to feel good. I always listen to Mykel's podcast because it makes me feel good. He's like my long-lost brother. I love Mykel. And so a really effective, well-crafted presentation is addressing the needs of all those people. So I'll give you an example. We're working with a nutritionist named, I'll call her Kathy. She's a nutrition expert. She grew up with this very rare intestinal problem where her diet was affected and no doctors understood how to solve it. And she solved it. And so her offer is she has a 90-day coaching program for women with this intestinal problem, and she sells it for $19.97. And she used to end her presentation there. And I said, man, Kathy, you're screwing up. You're forgetting the Julia Roberts. She's like, I don't know how to end with a story. I'm like, well, what do you want your audience to do? And it took some beating out of her. And eventually she said something which was important. She said, well, I want my audience to understand that they can't do it on their own. I'm like, you need to hire an expert story.
Yeah.
She's like, what's that? I'm like, I'll give you an example. I'll leave you with this. Many years ago, my wife and I, we got theater tickets. We were dressed to the nines, driving to the theater when we got a flat tire. My wife said, well, I'll call AAA. I'm like, you don't have to call AAA. I'm a man. I can fix a flat tire. So I got out of the car. I opened up the trunk, and I got out the spare tire, and then I got the pumper thingy, and then I got the big jack thing and tried to undo the nuts on the tire. And basically, 27 minutes later, I had grease all over myself. I had not fixed the flat tire. My wife is standing next to the car with her hands folded over her chest, shaking her head like I could have done so much better than this guy. Well, unbeknownst to me, she had called AAA 27 minutes earlier, and this tow truck shows up, and this 17-year-old punk hops out of the tow truck and proceeds to fix my flat tire in 3 minutes flat. You know, I think there's times in life when all of us think we can do it ourselves. But if you want to save money and you want to save a whole lot of headache, and you hire an expert. And so what I've done, Mykel, is I've taken a metaphorical story that now is going to sit in the audience's minds like, you know, I've tried lots of different diets before, but maybe I should hire Kathy because she knows exactly how to fix this problem. That's what you're trying to do. That's what takes a presentation from a good presentation to an outstanding presentation. There's intention behind this. I see speakers all the time. They tell stories, but those stories don't have any point. So here's something that everybody in you and your audience can do, Mykel, is just later on, I want you to sit in a comfortable chair with a pen and paper, libation of choice, and for an hour, I want you to write down every story that's ever happened in your life. And I don't mean the entire story. I just mean triggers, like the time I locked myself out of the car in front of Costco, the time Dad spilt mustard on his tie in that fancy restaurant. You'll find in an hour you can come up with hundreds of stories like this. So that's the first part of the exercise. The second part of the exercise is then I want you to think about what each of these stories is really about. Oh, this is a story about never giving up. Oh, this is a story about having a plan. Oh, this is a story about my priorities. And if you went on my computer, I have hundreds of files with literally tens of thousands of stories. So when I'm putting together a presentation and I need my audience to have a certain emotion, where I want them to have a certain reaction, I know the story, the perfect story that's going to emote that emotion or get the audience to take that action.
That makes sense. And that's where the connection happens, right?
Absolutely.
It's funny. It gets public speaking and presentation in publics in a way are different than when you're trying to market, for example, a product or a service in social media. Social media is in a way more aggressive and faster, which from everything I read, if you don't grab people's attentions in the first 3 seconds of your video, that person will leave. It won't even watch the rest of your video. And 3 seconds, it's like, that's almost nothing. But it's so aggressive and so different because when you have public presentation, you know you're going to get to the end of it. Even if your presentation was not good, Danny, you have that time. You will have an opportunity to get to your call to action. Yeah. Social media, if the person doesn't stay on your video, won't get until the end where you have your call to action. And it's
this isn't a new concept. I mean, listen to a Beethoven. Dun, 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 dun. You got your attention immediately. I always tell people, what's that old saying that if nobody's calling you back, you just ain't that attractive. Well, it's roots of that. So how do you become more attractive? I mean, and so there's things that you can do. I remember this speech. I watched Meg Cabot 20 years ago. So Meg Cabot, she wrote The Princess Diaries, and she showed up wearing a tiara, and that was her opening line. She's like, I'm always the only person wearing a tiara in the room. That gets a laugh out of people. It's a good way to connect with people. I'm working with an engineer in Silicon Valley right now, and so he's Indian, and he was very stressed out. He's like, Danny, please please, I need to be funny so people will pay attention to me. So, and I'm good at adding humor to presentations. And so he has a very difficult name to say. I'm not going to give you his real name, but the way we changed his presentation, now he starts off, he's like, hello, my name is Shubunakar Majahardin. Gee, I sure hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And now what it does, I'm not teaching you to be a stand-up comedian. All you need to
Yeah.
do is connect with people where they're like, oh, this
Yeah.
guy's all right. He can make fun of himself. I mean, that's what Coach Jimmy always uses this example is at the end of 8 Mile with Eminem, and I'm going to establish how white I am. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a rap-off. So it's Eminem against the black guy. And Eminem's friends are like, oh, man, he's going to say that you live in a trailer, that your mom is a crack hoe, that he slept with your girl. And so he has to go up against the black guy. So he gets up there and he's like, you going to say that I live in a trailer, that my mom's a crack hoe, that you slept with my girl. And the black guy, he doesn't know what to say now because he just took away all the ammunition. There's the power. And so that's what you should be. I love watching people, how they get an audience on there. And this is actually very important to remember, Mykel. Your audience actually wants you to succeed because you and I have been in audiences. There's nothing worse than a bad speaker where you're just sitting there, oh,
there's a reason they're there, right? There's a reason they're there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm working with a woman right now, and she literally shakes like this. And so I told her, I'm like, show everybody how much you're shaking. Say, oh, I'm so nervous. I'm more nervous than when I gave birth to my children.
That's such a good advice because then people will feel and will get to that level with you, and the connection is already made.
Everybody's been nervous, and so what? No, your audience is going to be like, oh, no, you can do it. They're going to start applauding.
Yeah.
They're going to give you, that's what you should do. And by the way, because I work with tons of people that have stage fright, and you're in good company. I mean, Barbara Streisand vomits before she goes on stage whenever she sings. President Reagan vomited before every speech he ever gave. Bill Russell from the Boston Celtics used to vomit before every single game he ever played in. You know, people that are really good, you don't know what they're actually going through. I mean, again, you could be nervous right now. You seem very calm, Mykel. I mean, but you could be nervous.
Absolutely.
And I mean, but the reason you're calmer now, it really gets, I love the question you asked me, do I still get nervous? I'm like, it got me to think about it. I'm like, I do get nervous when I haven't practiced. I remember before taking a final exam in college, I looked at the professor. I said, gee, I sure hope I asked this class. And he looked at me. He's like, Danny, the time to place your bet is before they spin the wheels. And he's right. You know, if I had studied more, I wouldn't be worried.
You know why I asked, Danny? Because people like you that are so good at your craft and it's been doing this for a long time. And I want to make sure that people understand, and the audience also that is listening understand that you can be doing the same thing for a very long time, but if the energy and the passion is still there, you still feel energized for what you do, even after 100, 200, 1,000 keynotes, right? And that's the reason I ask you if you still feel that kind of rush when you're getting in front of people.
Absolutely. I mean, this is my thing. I'm such a dork. I watch the movie Chariots of Fire like once a month. It's about these two British runners in the 1920 Olympics, and one of them is this Christian guy named Eric Liddell, and he's with his sister, and they're in Edinburgh, Scotland. And he says she's been trying to get him to go back to his missionary work in China, and he's like, you know, I've made my decision. I'm going to go back to the mission in China. And she's all excited. He's like, but first I'm going to run in the Olympics. And she gets disappointed. Jenny, you have to understand something, Jenny. I believe God made me for a purpose, and that's the mission in China.
Yeah.
But he also made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure. And I watch the movie all the time because every time he delivers that line, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what it's like for me on stage. I'm like, sometimes I say something so brilliant and I realize I didn't say that. That was God using me as a vessel. And I'm like, that's where I get really, I mean, I was with a woman a couple of weeks ago and she came up to me after the presentation. She's like, oh, Danny, I'd love to be a speaker like you. I'm like, oh, why don't you? And she's like, oh, I couldn't do that. I mean, when we were doing question and answer, that you were so quick the way you could answer my question. And I looked at her, I'm like, just so you know, the question you asked me, I've been asked 500 times before.
Right.
So before you asked me that question, I had 500 chances to craft the perfect
500 opportunities to give a better answer every time, right?
Absolutely. And nobody sees that. I mean, that the farce called the overnight sensation. You have
It's
no idea the amount of work people. And this is what I watch a lot of comedians. I used to do stand up comedy, and I know how much work these people put into it.
yeah.
They're flying out. When I lived in Los Angeles, we used to go to the Hermosa Beach Comedy and Magic Club every Sunday night because Jay Leno used to go there every Sunday night, and he would try jokes. I used to love watching the Tonight Show the following week because we'd see which jokes made it on the show. And it was all based on, he was trying it in front of a live audience. Let's see how they respond. And even when I was covering the president, I watch him say things, and he would try different things in different locations. And when he got a good positive response, he's like, okay, this is what's resonating with them.
It's, also what I think it happens, Danny. I think we are so used to, because of social media, to see the finished product, but no one really showing everything that happened to get there, right? That it was a lot of days, a lot of nights, practicing to make it look like it's almost perfect. And for people that sometimes are kind of reluctant to get started because they don't sound good or they don't look good in front of the camera. For example, when I started this podcast 2.5 months ago, of course, I say, this is not going to be good. First, I don't like my voice. I never done this, but I do believe when you show up consistently and you have a passion for something, every day and every week, you get better, and you get better. And then you practice, but you have to put in the work. It really needs to come from you. If you really want to be the best at what you do or one of the greats, you have to put in the work every single day. And that's what I tell everyone, my family, my friends. If you really want to do something at the beginning, it won't probably be the best, but you need to keep showing up for you because you really believe in that message. And that's what I want everybody to understand, that if you really are passionate about something, get started and then practice and practice.
Yeah, I'm like a Baptist in your front row saying amen to everything you're saying, Mykel. I was just watching it was Jay Glazer, the Fox Sports reporter, and he was sharing this story of he was in New Orleans with, at the time, the Saints coach was Sean Payton, and they were going to go on Bourbon Street, and all of a sudden, Sean Payton remembered he'd left something back at the office, and it was like a 45-minute drive to get to the New Orleans Saints training facility. He got there at like 10:15 at night. They notice there's a light on, and he goes in to the room where the light's on, and it's the quarterback, Drew Brees, watching film. And Jay looks at me, he's like, it's 10:15 at night. Why are you here? And I can't remember exactly what Drew Brees said, but it was something like, well, trying to be the best can be pretty lonely.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. These people don't look at the work that the people that are the best, they put in a lot of work. If you want to get better at anything, you've got to work harder than other people. Yeah, you got to work smarter, but you also got to work harder. The people that are top of their game, they work harder than anybody else we'd know.
Absolutely. And very hard. And they put in the work, and, they struggle, they keep trying, and they keep trying. It's a marathon, right? It's about you being persistent to following your dreams, because people, they just want to get things quick in a way that I need to get this by tomorrow. No, this is a marathon. And in a marathon, it's about how persistent you are, right? How resilient you are, so you can get at the end of it the results that you want.
That's right. Yeah. Completely agree.
Yeah. Danny, I'm fascinated by this because I think storytelling, it's really what makes people connect with your message. And as you're saying, the presentation or when you're talking to people, it's really when people connect to you at that very human level, you already get them. And you know that you already get them, right? And it's so important that you find those stories that people look at you, at someone that is relatable, that you have something in common with them. And it's not only for business leaders or any professional. The power of storytelling, it's really more important than ever.
Absolutely. I mean, I work with a lot of pastors, and I always point this out to them. I'm like, well, look at the Bible. I mean, Jesus is just a frustrated teacher. The apostles are like so dense. He's like, all right, you don't get it. So let me tell you a story. I bet you that 9 out of 10 non-Christians are familiar with stories like the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son, David and Goliath. But I also bet you 9 out of 10 Christians cannot tell you the 10 Commandments. And the reason is because it wasn't presented as a story. It was presented as a PowerPoint with 10 bullet points. People don't remember that. They
No.
remember aging story.
Wow. Oof. You are making me think in a way right now that, yeah, and then you are absolutely right. Because when you use your memory to memorize something, and you may create a memory that it will last you a few days, and but that may goes away. You only learn when it comes via a story, and that's
Mhm.
what stays in you, because it's just come from a story that you connected to, and then it's like it doesn't feel like you're memorizing something. It's like you are learning.
Yeah, we're programmed to listen to stories and learn from stories. It's ever since cave
Yeah.
people were at their campfires telling stories, ooh, ook and glook, they're not going to actually live very long if they don't pay attention to the story about don't eat the funny looking berries.
Yeah.
It's an important, it's a life skill.
Yeah, and I hope that in this new future, whenever and wherever we're heading towards, we still have more stories to be told, right? To one another. It's important. So, Danny, just getting to kind of the last segment of this conversation today, and I'm very curious to get your thoughts on this question that I ask every single guest that comes to the show, which is, where do you see AI is helping, and what are your concerns in this new future with AI?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to tell you the concerns because I think the media does a pretty good job of portraying all the doom and gloom behind AI. I mean, yeah, it is concerning that you could have a deep fake of a president or a premier or prime minister saying they're going to launch the nuclear missiles, and we only have seconds to figure out, was that the real person or was this just AI generated? So that's the doom and gloom. But I practice what I preach. I hire coaches all the time, and so people don't remember ChatGPT is really not even that old. It's not even 3 years old at this point.
Yeah,
I think this
it's
is 3 years. We're coming upon three. And when ChatGPT first came out, I hired a coach to teach me AI. And he is a medical doctor, and he taught me so many positive things with AI. So his father died of pancreatic cancer. And so he developed an AI that can detect pancreatic cancer in stage 1. And
wow.
he would always show me all the positive uses. He's like, Danny, with AI, if there's a village that's starving to death in Africa, we can actually figure out exactly what they need, how much food that
Yeah.
they need. We can figure out where the weak bridges are and repair those bridges. And this was the thing he told me. And I'll leave you with this because I thought this was great, Mykel. He said, Danny, just so you know, the
Mhm.
first person in America to live to be 150 years old has already been born.
Wow. Oh, that's a powerful one.
That is a powerful one. He's like, with AI, we'll be able to figure out dietary schedules and
Yeah.
fitness, and so yeah, everybody's gonna. But it's just when television came, oh, television's the end of everything. The kids are never gonna
Like
pay
any
attention.
technology, right? Yes, as it comes
That's
new.
she said,
Yeah.
yeah, technology is a tool. I mean,
Yeah.
Greeks were griping about this 3,000 years ago. They're like, what? You can't memorize it? You got to write it down? Nah, you're stupid. Society's going down the drain. It's the same story all the time. You just can't listen to that. Look at the I mean, but again, this is where you and I are different from a lot of people. Most
Yeah.
people are the negative Nellies. We need positive people that are showing people here's
We need more
possibility.
positive people. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And more stories to be kind of, uplifting us and give us hope of this new future. And I said this was the last one, but it's not, because I cannot let you go without this last question. What would be your piece of advice for a young Danny Brassell, seeing him today and in this whole new future? What would you tell this new young guy today?
Well, I always tell students that the windshield's a lot bigger than the rear view mirror. I'm not a person that likes to look back. I don't live life in regrets. I think I would just say enjoy the ride, buddy. That
Enjoy the
there's
ride. I
you're
love
going to
it.
have so many U-turn. I mean, this audience, most people think that the road to success is
Yeah.
point A to point B, and that's not the road
No,
to
it
point A
goes through. Yeah.
P S to point L to point
Yep.
M, and you just keep on. That's why I love the movie Rocky. That's why everybody loves the movie Rocky. Rocky's not the best fighter. He always gets hit. The thing that
Yeah.
people love about Rocky is he always gets back up.
Yeah.
And, if you don't stay down, you're never going to be defeated. So don't stay down. That would be my advice to not just me, but to everybody.
I love it. And I cannot agree with you more, because that's something that I tell my friends and everyone, even if they're going through challenging times, say, enjoy the ride, whatever it is. Every stage, every phase of your life will teach you something. and you will get down and you will get back up stronger than where you were.
That's right.
All right, my friend. So thank you for your presence today. I really appreciated you having on the show and for reminding us that in an AI first world, your story really isn't fluff. It is your edge. You've given us tools, truth, and permission to own our voice, speak with purpose, and connect with heart. So thank you, Danny. I appreciate you for having you on the show and for you taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, Mykel. And as a thank you to you and your audience, I wanted to give everybody a freebie. So if you go to freestoryguide.com, guide like a tour guide, freestoryguide.com, I'm going to give everybody their own well-crafted story blueprint. What this is the actual process that Coach Jimmy and I take our clients through to help you create your well-crafted story. What this does for you is it takes the guesswork out of why am I putting this here and where do I put this story? And what this means for you is you now have an actual system to convert your audience into clients and to really increase your impact. You can get that at freestoryguide.com. And Mykel, I just love everything about this podcast. I really appreciate all that you're doing, and your biggest fan will support you, but to keep on doing this. So thank you, my friend.
No, thank you. Thanks to you, and thanks for bringing that to us and our audience. I'm going to make sure that I check it out, and I'm sure it will be extremely helpful for a lot of people. For everyone that is listening and watching us, if this episode reigniting your passion for clear human communication, share it, post it, speak it. Subscribe to the Human Protocol and let your story, not the algorithms, guide your future. Thank you all, and see you next time. Take care.